The sun had become his executioner, beating down without mercy as Marcus Brennan collapsed face first into the endless expanse of white salt, his cracked lips too swollen to even whisper a prayer for salvation. 3 days ago, his caravan had been ambushed by bandits in the mountain pass. Marcus had been a trader for 12 years, moving goods between the eastern settlements and the frontier towns that dotted the wilderness. He had survived ambushes before, fought off raiders, weathered storms that capsized wagons and flooded rivers that nearly drowned him and his horses. But this time, everything had gone catastrophically wrong. The bandits had come at dawn, when the mist still clung to the rocks and visibility was poor. They had killed his guards first, arrows whistling through the fog before anyone could draw a weapon. Marcus had managed to cut one of the horses free and ride hard into the wilderness, abandoning his entire cargo of spices, fabrics, and tools. He had ridden south, or what he thought was south, but the compass had been left with the wagons and the sun had been hidden by clouds for most of that first day. By nightfall, he had found himself at the edge of the salt flats, that terrible dead zone where nothing grew and water was as rare as gold. His horse had stumbled on the second day, breaking its leg in a hidden crevice beneath the crystalline crust. Marcus had been forced to end the animal's suffering with his knife, and then he had started walking. Now, on the third day, he could no longer walk. His legs had given out an hour ago, maybe 2. Time had lost all meaning. The world was nothing but white salt and blue sky, and the sun that had turned from a distant circle of light into a hammer that struck him again and again. Marcus tried to lift his head, but even that small movement sent waves of agony through his skull. His tongue was a swollen mass in his mouth, his throat so dry it felt like sandpaper. He had not had water since yesterday morning, when he had finished the last drops from his water skin. Dehydration was killing him slowly, cooking him from the inside out. He thought of his sister, Eliza, back in Ironford. She would never know what happened to him. His body would be mummified by the salt and sun, preserved for eternity in this white hell. Maybe in 100 years, another traveler would stumble across his bones and wonder who he had been. The thought made him want to laugh, but he could not even manage that. His vision was beginning to tunnel, the edges of the world growing dark. This was it then. This was how Marcus Brennan died, alone and forgotten in a place where even vultures refused to fly. He closed his eyes and waited for the darkness to take him. Instead, he heard voices. At first, he thought it was a hallucination, his dying brain conjuring sounds to comfort him. But the voices grew louder, deeper, speaking in a language he did not understand. Guttural and harsh, but also melodic in a strange way, like gravel rolling in a stream, heavy footsteps approached, crunching on the salt. Marcus tried to open his eyes but managed only a crack. Through his blurred vision he saw shapes moving toward him. Large shapes, green shapes, orcs. Fear shot through him, a final burst of adrenaline that made his heart race. Orcs were monsters, everyone knew that. They raided human settlements, burned farms, killed without mercy. If bandits had brought him to the edge of death, orcs would finish the job. One of them knelt beside him, and Marcus felt thick, strong fingers touch his neck, checking for a pulse. He heard more of that guttural language, words he could not comprehend. Then water, blessed water, touched his lips. Marcus drank without thinking, his body taking over where his mind had shut down. The water was warm and tasted of leather, but it was the most beautiful thing he had ever experienced. He coughed, sputtered, and someone tilted his head to help him drink more slowly. More voices, more discussion in that language he did not know. Then he felt himself being lifted, strong arms carrying him as easily as if he weighed nothing at all. Marcus tried to protest, tried to struggle, but his body would not obey. The darkness he had been waiting for finally came, pulling him down into unconscious oblivion. When Marcus woke, he was moving. His body swayed with a gentle rhythm, and beneath him he felt the warm, rough hide of some large animal. A wagon, he realized. He was lying in a wagon being pulled by something. He opened his eyes carefully, squinting against the light. Above him stretched a canopy of thick, oiled cloth that blocked the sun. The relief was immediate and profound. He was no longer cooking alive. Marcus turned his head slowly and saw that he was not alone in the wagon. Beside him sat a young orc woman, her green skin darker than moss, but lighter than pine needles. She had black hair braided in complex patterns that fell past her shoulders, and she wore leather and rough spun cloth that looked handmade. Her tusks were small, barely protruding past her upper lip, but her pointed ears were pierced with several bone rings. She noticed him watching and turned to look at him. Her eyes were a startling amber color, bright and intelligent. She said something in that guttural language, then reached for a waterskin. Marcus flinched instinctively, and hurt flashed across her face before she schooled her expression into neutrality. She held the waterskin out to him, not moving closer. "Water," she said in heavily accented but recognizable human speech. "You drink." Marcus stared at her, his mind struggling to process what was happening. An orc was offering him water. An orc had saved his life. This went against everything he had been taught since childhood, but his thirst was stronger than his prejudice. He reached out with a shaking hand and took the waterskin. The orc woman watched as he drank, her expression carefully neutral. "Slow," she said when he started gulping. "Slow or sick." Marcus forced himself to drink more slowly, taking small sips even though every cell in his body screamed for more. When he finally lowered the waterskin, he met her eyes again. "Thank you," he rasped, his voice barely more than a whisper. She nodded once, then said something over her shoulder in Orcish. A moment later, the wagon stopped moving. Marcus heard footsteps approaching, and then a massive orc male appeared at the back of the wagon. He was even larger than the female, his green skin covered in scars and tribal tattoos. His tusks were much larger, and he wore his black hair loose around his shoulders. He looked at Marcus with eyes that gave away nothing. The male orc spoke in that guttural language, and the female responded. They had a brief conversation, and Marcus caught what might have been disagreement in their tones, though he could not be sure. Finally, the male grunted and walked away. The female turned back to Marcus. "I am Kesh," she said, placing a hand on her chest. "You are Marcus," he said. "Marcus Brennan." "Marcus," she repeated, sounding out the syllables carefully. "You live, Marcus, you not die on salt, we find you." "Why?" The question escaped before he could stop it. "Why save me?" Kesh's expression hardened slightly. "We not monsters," she said quietly. "Humans think orcs are monsters, but we are people, we have honor. We see dying thing, we help. That is honor." Marcus felt shame wash over him. She was right, of course. He had assumed they would kill him, had assumed the worst simply because they were orcs. But they had saved his life, given him water, brought him out of the sun. "I am sorry," he said. "Thank you for helping me. You saved my life." Kesh studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "You rest now. We travel. You need strength." She turned away, clearly ending the conversation. Marcus laid back down on the rough blankets that had been placed beneath him and stared up at the canopy. His mind was spinning with questions, but exhaustion was stronger. Within minutes, he had fallen back asleep. When he woke again, it was evening. The wagon had stopped, and he could hear the sounds of a camp being set up around him. Voices speaking in Orcish, the crackling of a fire, the low grunts of whatever animals pulled the wagons. Marcus sat up slowly, testing his strength. He was still weak, but the crushing dehydration had eased. His head no longer pounded quite so viciously, and his vision had cleared. He was alive, and that in itself was a miracle. He looked out the back of the wagon and saw that they had made camp in a small depression between dunes of salt-crusted earth. There were 3 wagons total, all built sturdy and practical, pulled by massive creatures that Marcus recognized as oxen, though these were larger than any he had seen before. Around the camp, 6 orcs moved with practiced efficiency, setting up tents, starting a fire, and tending to the animals. Kesh appeared at the back of the wagon, carrying a wooden bowl. "You eat," she said, holding it out to him. Marcus took the bowl and looked at its contents, some kind of thick stew with chunks of meat and root vegetables. It smelled good, and his stomach clenched with sudden, desperate hunger. "Thank you," he said again, and began eating. The stew was heavily spiced with things he did not recognize, but it was delicious. He ate slowly, remembering Kesh's warning about making himself sick. As he ate, the large male orc from earlier approached. Up close, he was even more imposing, easily 7 feet tall with shoulders as broad as an ox yoke. He looked down at Marcus with an expression that might have been curiosity or might have been disapproval. "This is Grom," Kesh said, gesturing to the male. "He is leader, chief of our band." "Thank you for saving me," Marcus said, looking up at Grom. Grom grunted and said something in Orcish. Kesh translated. "He says you are lucky we found you. 1 more hour you die. He asks why you on salt flats alone." Marcus explained about the ambush, about fleeing into the wilderness and getting lost. As Kesh translated, he saw Grom's expression darken. "Bandits," Grom said in heavily accented human speech. "Bandits are cowards. They kill and steal, have no honor." He spat to the side, making his opinion clear. "You speak the human tongue?" Marcus asked, surprised. "Little," Grom said, holding up his hand with thumb and forefinger close together. "Trade with humans sometimes. Need words." "Where are you traveling?" Marcus asked. Kesh answered. "We are nomads. We travel the borderlands following the seasons. We hunt, we gather, we trade when we can. We go where we need to go." "And you let humans travel with you," Marcus said, then immediately regretted his phrasing. "I mean, I am grateful, but I heard that orcs and humans do not mix." Grom's expression grew hard. "Humans kill orcs," he said flatly. "Humans burn our camps, take our land, call us monsters, but we are not all the same. Some orcs hate all humans. Some humans hate all orcs. We try a different way." Kesh added, "Our band believes in honor and survival. We do not kill without reason. We do not turn away from those who need help. But other orcs think we are soft. Other orcs say we should kill all humans we find." "And yet you saved me," Marcus said quietly. "Yes," Kesh said, meeting his eyes. "We saved you because it is right thing." Grom said something else in Orcish, and Kesh nodded. The chief walked away, returning to the fire where the other orcs had gathered. "He says you stay with us until you are strong," Kesh explained. "Then we take you to nearest human settlement. 2 weeks, maybe 3. You rest, you heal, you travel with us." "I am grateful," Marcus said. "I have nothing to repay you with. The bandits took everything." Kesh shrugged. "We do not ask for payment. You are guest. Honor demands we protect you." She left him to finish his meal, and Marcus sat in the wagon watching the camp. The orcs gathered around the fire, passing around food and what looked like a wineskin. They laughed and talked, their voices rising and falling in that strange language. They looked like any group of travelers, Marcus thought. Tired from the day's journey, sharing a meal, finding comfort in each other's company, not monsters. People. Over the next few days, Marcus slowly regained his strength. Kesh brought him food and water regularly, and he spent most of his time resting in the wagon as the orc band traveled across the borderlands. They were heading east, she explained, toward the grasslands where game would be more plentiful and water easier to find. On the fourth day, Marcus felt strong enough to walk. He climbed out of the wagon when they stopped for the midday rest and stood on his own legs for the first time since his rescue. His muscles were weak and shaky, but they held. Kesh watched him from where she was tending to one of the oxen. "You feel better," she said. It was not a question. "Yes," Marcus said. "Much better, thanks to you and your people." She nodded and returned to her work. Marcus watched her for a moment, noting the efficiency of her movements, the way she spoke softly to the ox as she checked its harness. She had calloused hands and strong arms, but her touch was gentle. One of the other orcs, a female with more elaborate tattoos and older features, approached Marcus. She spoke in Orcish, her tone sharp and questioning. Marcus did not understand the words, but he understood the suspicion in her voice. Kesh responded quickly, her tone defensive. The older female argued back, gesturing at Marcus. The discussion grew heated, drawing the attention of the other orcs. Grom appeared and said something in a voice that brooked no argument. Both females fell silent, though the older one shot Marcus a look of pure distrust before walking away. "What was that about?" Marcus asked quietly. Kesh sighed. "That is Thraka. She is elder, has much wisdom. She does not trust humans. She says we are foolish to help you, that you will betray us or lead other humans to us." "I would never," Marcus said quickly. "You saved my life." "I know," Kesh said, "but she has seen many bad things from humans. Her daughter was killed by human soldiers 3 years ago. They burned her village, killed everyone they found. She does not forget." Marcus felt the weight of that history settle on his shoulders. "I am sorry," he said. "I did not know." "Most humans do not know," Kesh said. "They hear that orcs are monsters, but they do not hear about villages burned, children killed, families destroyed. They do not hear our stories." She finished with the ox and turned to face him fully. "You seem like good man, Marcus, but Thraka is not wrong to be careful. Many humans would kill us if they could. We must be careful who we trust." "Then why trust me?" Marcus asked. Kesh was quiet for a moment, then said, "Because you were dying and we helped you and you did not try to hurt us. You said thank you. You look at us like we are people, not monsters." That is enough for now. Over the following days, Marcus began to help around the camp in small ways. He gathered firewood, helped with the cooking, and assisted in setting up the tents each evening. The orcs watched him warily at first, but gradually they began to accept his presence. He learned their names. There was Grom, the chief, and his brother Drak, who was nearly as large but quieter. Thraka, the suspicious elder who still would not speak to him directly. A young male named Rock who was learning to hunt. And Kesh's cousin, a female named Mara who laughed easily and seemed less troubled by Marcus's presence. Marcus also learned that Kesh held a special position in the band. She was their translator and trader, the one who dealt with human merchants when they needed to buy or sell goods. She had learned the human tongue from her mother, who had been a translator before her. "It is important skill," Kesh explained one evening as they sat by the fire. The other orcs had gone to their tents, leaving the two of them alone under the stars. "Without words, we cannot trade. Without trade, we cannot get things we need. Salt, iron, cloth, we make much ourselves, but not everything." "Do many orcs speak the human tongue?" Marcus asked. "No," Kesh said. "Most do not want to learn. They say human words are ugly, that learning them makes us weak. But I think understanding is better than ignorance. How can we make peace if we cannot talk? Is that what you want? Peace between orcs and humans?" Kesh looked up at the stars, her expression thoughtful. "I want to live without fear," she said softly. I want to travel without worrying that human soldiers will attack. I want to trade in human towns without being chased away. I want children to grow up knowing both sides, not hating each other." She glanced at him. "Is that so much to ask?" "No," Marcus said. "It is not too much. It is what everyone should want." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the night sounds of the borderlands. In the distance, something howled and the oxen shifted nervously in their pen. "Why did you become a trader?" Kesh asked suddenly. Marcus smiled. "My father was a farmer and his father before him. But I did not want to spend my life behind a plow. I wanted to see the world, meet different people, have adventures." He laughed bitterly. "I certainly got the adventure part. You will trade again?" Kesh asked. "If I survive long enough to reach a settlement, yes," Marcus said. "Though I will need to borrow money to buy new goods. The bandits took everything." "You have family, wife." "A sister in Ironford. No wife. I was always traveling, never in one place long enough to court anyone properly." He glanced at Kesh. "What about you? Do you have someone?" Kesh shook her head. "No. In our band there are not many young orcs. Mara has a mate in another band that we meet sometimes. But me, I am too busy with trading and translating. And most orc males do not like that I speak human tongue. They think it makes me less orcish." "That is foolish," Marcus said. "You are helping your people. That makes you more orcish, not less." Kesh smiled, a real smile that showed her small tusks. "You are strange human, Marcus Brennan. You say things that are kind." "I say things that are true," Marcus replied. Something passed between them in that moment, a connection that neither of them had anticipated. Marcus looked away first, suddenly aware of how close they were sitting, how the firelight made her green skin glow warm. "I should sleep," he said, standing quickly. "We have another long day of travel tomorrow." "Yes," Kesh said, but she sounded uncertain. "Sleep well, Marcus." As he walked to the wagon where he had been sleeping, Marcus felt her eyes on his back. He told himself not to be foolish, that any feelings he might be developing were just gratitude for being saved. But he knew he was lying to himself. The following week brought them into greener lands, where grass grew in patches and water could be found in streams and small pools. The band made camp beside a creek, and Grom announced they would stay for several days to hunt and rest the oxen. Marcus helped set up a more permanent camp, driving stakes for the tents and gathering stones for a proper fire pit. He was stronger now, nearly back to his full health, and he found satisfaction in the physical work. On the second day at the creek camp, Kesh approached him with a proposition. "We go to Human Town tomorrow," she said. "Small settlement, 2 days' walk from here. We trade meat for salt and iron. You come with us, yes. Help us trade." "Of course," Marcus said. "Though I should warn you, if people in the town see me traveling with orcs, they may not react well." "This town, they know us," Kesh said. "We trade there many times, but your help would be good. You speak better than me, explain things better." The next morning, Marcus set out with Kesh, Grom, and Drac. They brought 2 oxen loaded with wrapped bundles of smoked meat and furs. The journey took most of the day, and they arrived at the settlement just before sunset. The town was small, barely more than 30 buildings clustered around a crossroads. A wooden palisade surrounded it, and guards stood at the gate with spears and suspicious eyes. The guards tensed when they saw the orcs approaching, but relaxed slightly when they recognized Kesh. "Trader Kesh," one of them said, nodding. "You bring meat?" "Yes," Kesh said. "Good meat. We trade for salt and iron like always." The guard's eyes shifted to Marcus. "Who is this? New translator?" "I am Marcus Brennan," Marcus said. "I was attacked by bandits and nearly died in the salt flats. Kesh and her band saved my life. I am traveling with them until I can return to Ironford." The guard's expression changed, cycling through surprise, skepticism, and finally grudging acceptance. Brennan, I know that name. You are the trader who runs the eastern route. That is me, Marcus confirmed. Well then, the guard said, welcome to Millbrook, though I will say you keep strange company. Strange company that saved my life, Marcus said firmly. The guard shrugged and waved them through. As they entered the town, Marcus noticed people stopping to stare. Some looked afraid, others simply curious. A few spat on the ground as they passed. They made their way to the trading post, a sturdy building near the center of town. The trader, a weathered man named Gordon, greeted them with professional courtesy. Kesh, he said, what do you have for me today? They laid out the meat and furs on the counter. Gordon inspected them carefully, nodding with approval. Good quality, as always. I can give you 50 pounds of salt and 20 pounds of iron ingots. 60 salt, 25 iron, Kesh countered. They haggled back and forth, and Marcus found himself impressed by Kesh's trading instincts. She knew the value of her goods and did not back down easily. Eventually, they settled on 55 pounds of salt and 22 pounds of iron, which seemed fair to Marcus. As Gordon's assistant went to weigh out the goods, the trader turned to Marcus. Brennan, is it? I heard you were dead. Bandits got your caravan in the mountain pass. They did, Marcus confirmed. But I escaped, though I lost everything. The orc band found me dying on the salt flats and saved my life. Gordon raised his eyebrows. Did they now? That is unusual. Most orcs I know would have left you to die. Then you know the wrong orcs, Marcus said coolly. Gordon chuckled. Perhaps I do. Well, if you need anything, coin or supplies, I can extend you credit on your name. Everyone knows Marcus Brennan keeps his word. Thank you, Marcus said, but I will wait until I reach Ironford. My sister can help me get back on my feet. They completed the trade and left the settlement as the sun was setting. Grom and Drac carried the salt and iron, their strength making the heavy loads look easy. You did well, Marcus told Kesh as they walked. You got a good price. Gordon always tries to cheat us a little, Kesh said. But he is better than most human traders. Some would not trade with us at all. Things are changing, Marcus said. Slowly, but they are changing. More people are realizing that orcs are not the enemy. Maybe, Kesh said, but many still hate us. That guard at the gate, he looked at us like we were animals. He did, Marcus admitted, but he let us in and we completed our trade. That is progress. They made camp that night in a grove of trees halfway back to the band's main camp. Grom and Drac took first watch while Marcus and Kesh sat by the fire. Thank you for helping today, Kesh said. Your words with Gordon, they helped. He respects you. I just told the truth, Marcus said. You saved my life. The least I can do is help you trade. Kesh was quiet for a moment, then said, We reach the grasslands in 5 days. From there, it is only 1 week to Ironford. You will go home soon. Marcus felt an unexpected pang at those words. Home. He should be eager to return to see his sister, to rebuild his trading business. But the thought of leaving the orc band, leaving Kesh, felt wrong somehow. I will be sad to go, he said honestly. Kesh looked at him, her amber eyes reflecting the firelight. You will go back to your life. Forget about orcs, forget about the salt flats. I could never forget, Marcus said. You gave me back my life. How could I forget that? Humans forget easily, Kesh said, but there was no bitterness in her voice, only sadness. Not all humans, Marcus said. He reached out and gently touched her hand where it rested on her knee. Not me. Kesh stared at their hands for a long moment, then slowly turned her palm up to grip his fingers. Her hand was warm and rough with calluses, but her grip was gentle. This is dangerous, she whispered. For you and for me. Humans and orcs we do not mix. It brings only pain. I know, Marcus said, but I cannot help how I feel. "Neither can I," Kesh admitted, and her voice was thick with emotion. They sat like that for a long time, hands clasped, not speaking. Finally, Grom called out something in Orcish, and Kesh reluctantly pulled her hand away. "He says it is time to sleep," she translated. "We have long walk tomorrow." Marcus nodded and went to his bedroll, but sleep was long in coming, and when he finally drifted off, his dreams were full of amber eyes and green skin. The journey to the grasslands passed in a blur of travel and camp life. Marcus found himself spending more time with Kesh, helping her with daily tasks, talking by the fire in the evenings. They were careful not to be too obvious, but the other orcs noticed. Thraka confronted Kesh one evening when she thought Marcus could not hear, but he was gathering firewood nearby and caught some of the conversation. "You are being foolish," Thraka said in the human tongue, perhaps wanting to make sure Marcus could understand if he was listening. "He is human. He will leave and you will be hurt." "I know," Kesh said, "but I cannot control my heart." "Then you are weak," Thraka said harshly. "This is why I said we should not save him. He brings nothing but trouble." "He brings kindness," Kesh shot back. "He looks at us like we are people." "When was the last time a human did that?" "Fine words mean nothing," Thraka said. "When he returns to his people, he will forget you. And if he does not forget, what then? You cannot go with him. His people would kill you, and he cannot stay with us. He is not orc. There is no future for you together." Kesh did not answer, and after a moment Thraka walked away. Marcus stepped out from behind the wagon where he had been hiding. "She is right," Marcus said quietly. Kesh spun around, startled. "You heard." "I heard," Marcus confirmed. "And she is right. We both know it. There is no future for us." "I know," Kesh said, and tears shimmered in her amber eyes. "I have known from the beginning, but that does not make it hurt less." Marcus crossed to her and took both her hands in his. "I do not want to leave you," he said. "But I do not see how I can stay. I am not strong like your people. I cannot live the nomad life, and you cannot come with me to Ironford. They would never accept you." "So this is all we have," Kesh said. "These few weeks and then nothing." "These few weeks are more than I ever expected to have," Marcus said. He lifted her hands and kissed her knuckles gently. "I will treasure them forever." Kesh pulled her hands free and turned away, wrapping her arms around herself. "Go, Marcus. It is better if we stop this now before it hurts more." Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to pull her into his arms and promise her everything would be fine, but he could not make promises he could not keep. So he walked away, his heart breaking with every step. The next few days were torture. Marcus and Kesh avoided each other as much as possible, speaking only when necessary. The other orcs noticed the tension and gave them both space. Then, 3 days from Ironford, everything changed. They were making camp in a small valley when Rock, who had been scouting ahead, came running back with urgent news. He spoke rapidly in Orcish, gesturing wildly. Grom's face darkened and he barked orders. The orcs immediately began breaking camp, moving with swift efficiency. "What is happening?" Marcus asked. Kesh appeared beside him, her face pale. "Raiders," she said. "A large band, maybe 20 men, they are coming this way and they have seen us. Bandits, worse. Orc hunters. Humans who hunt orcs for sport and bounty. They kill any orc they find, take the tusks as trophies." Horror washed over Marcus. "We have to run." "We cannot outrun them," Grom said, having understood enough of the conversation. "We must hide or we must fight." "There are only 6 of you and me," Marcus said. "We cannot fight 20 armed men." "Then we hide," Grom decided. He pointed to a rocky outcrop at the far end of the valley. "There. Caves. We take everything, hide in the caves. Maybe they pass by." They moved quickly, loading the wagons and driving the oxen toward the rocks. Marcus helped carry supplies, his heart pounding. If the orc hunters found them, Kesh and her people would be killed. slaughtered for sport. They reached the caves just as the sun was setting. The space was cramped but defensible, with only one narrow entrance. They brought the oxen in with them and piled rocks across the opening, leaving only a small gap to watch through. "They will see our tracks," Thraka said grimly. "I know," Grom said. "But maybe they will not look. Maybe we are lucky." They were not lucky. An hour after full dark, Marcus saw torches approaching across the valley. 20 men, just as Rock had said, all armed with swords and spears. They moved like soldiers, disciplined and organized. "They are following our tracks," Drac whispered. The hunters stopped about 50 yards from the cave entrance. Their leader, a man with a scarred face and a necklace of orc tusks around his neck, called out in a loud voice, "Orcs in the cave. We know you are there. Come out and we will make your deaths quick." Grom said nothing, but he gripped his war axe tighter. "You cannot hide forever," the hunter leader shouted. "We will wait you out or we will smoke you out. Either way you die tonight." Marcus felt rage building inside him. These men were not soldiers defending their homes. They were murderers, killing for sport and profit. The orcs had done nothing wrong, but they would be slaughtered simply for existing. He could not let that happen. Before anyone could stop him, Marcus squeezed through the gap in the rocks and stepped out into the open. Behind him he heard Kesh cry out in alarm, but he did not stop. "I am Marcus Brennan," he called out. "Traitor of the Eastern Route. These orcs saved my life when I was dying in the salt flats." "They have done nothing wrong," the hunter leader laughed. "Marcus Brennan, we heard you were dead." "Seems the orcs did not finish the job." "They saved me," Marcus repeated. "They gave me food and water, protected me, asked nothing in return. They are not monsters, they are people." "They are beasts," the leader said. "And you are either a fool or a traitor for defending them." "Step aside, Brennan. This does not concern you." "It concerns me very much," Marcus said. "If you want to reach them, you will have to go through me." "That can be arranged," the leader said, drawing his sword. "Wait," Marcus said quickly. "Kill me and you kill a well-known traitor. My death will bring questions, investigations. The settlements along the Eastern Route know me, respect me. They will demand answers. Is that really worth a few orc tusks?" The leader hesitated, and Marcus pressed his advantage. "Let them go," he said. "They are leaving this area anyway, heading north into the wilderness. You will never see them again. There is no profit in killing them, only risk." "There is always profit in orc tusks," the leader said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. "Is there profit in being hunted yourselves?" Marcus asked. "Because I promise you, if you kill these orcs, I will spend every coin I have bringing you to justice. I will tell everyone what happened here. You will be hunted." The men behind the leader began muttering among themselves. Marcus could see doubt spreading through their ranks. They had come for an easy hunt, not for complications. The leader spat on the ground. "You are a fool, Brennan. Defending beasts will ruin you." "Then I will be ruined," Marcus said. "But they will live." The two men stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, the leader sheathed his sword. "Keep your orcs," he said. "But know this, Brennan, you are marked now. Word will spread that you defend beasts over men. You will be shunned, possibly killed. Was it worth it?" "Yes," Marcus said without hesitation. The hunters turned and walked away, their torches disappearing into the night. Marcus stood alone in the darkness for several minutes, making sure they were truly gone. Then his legs gave out and he sat down hard on the ground, shaking with reaction. Kesh was there instantly, kneeling beside him. "You are insane," she said, but her voice was full of emotion. "They could have killed you. They could have killed you," Marcus replied. "I could not let that happen." The other orcs emerged from the cave. Grom approached Marcus and placed a massive hand on his shoulder. "You are brave," he said in his rough human speech. "You save us. We owe you life debt." You saved me first, Marcus said. We are even. No, Grom said firmly. Not even. You risk everything for us. That is more than saving a dying man, that is brotherhood. He pulled Marcus to his feet and, to Marcus's surprise, pulled him into a brief, crushing hug. The other orcs followed suit, even Thraka, who gripped his arm and nodded with respect. When they finally released him, Marcus found himself facing Kesh. She was crying openly now, tears streaming down her green cheeks. You are such a fool, she said again. I know, Marcus said. But I am your fool. She threw her arms around him and kissed him fiercely. Marcus froze for half a second in surprise, then kissed her back, his hands coming up to cradle her face. She tasted like salt and smoke and something uniquely her, and it was perfect. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathless. The other orcs had tactfully moved away, giving them privacy. The hunter was right, Kesh said quietly. Defending us will ruin you. Your people will turn against you. I do not care, Marcus said. I love you, Kesh. I tried to deny it, tried to walk away, but I cannot. I love you. I love you too, Kesh whispered. But what do we do? There is still no future for us. Marcus was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he said, The hunter said I was marked now, that I would be shunned by humans for defending orcs. If that is true, then I have already lost my place in human society. You could lie, Kesh said. Tell them the hunters were mistaken, that you were a hostage. They would believe you. I will not lie, Marcus said, and I will not pretend that you are anything less than what you are. You are brave, kind, intelligent, and beautiful. You are everything I could ever want. So what do you propose? Kesh asked. I propose that I do not go back to Ironford, Marcus said. Not to stay anyway. I will go long enough to settle my affairs, say goodbye to my sister, and collect what money I am owed. Then I will come back. Come back where? To you, Marcus said. To your band. If Grom will have me, I want to join you. I want to travel with you, live with you, be with you. Kesh stared at him. You want to become a nomad, give up everything? I want to be with you, Marcus said simply. Everything else is just details. But you are human. You are not made for this life. It is hard, constant travel, sleeping on the ground, never having a real home. My home is with you, Marcus said. Wherever you are, that is where I want to be. Tears started falling again, but Kesh was smiling. You are insane, she said for the third time, but I love you. Is that a yes? Marcus asked. It is a yes, Kesh said, but we must ask Grom. This is not just about us. It affects the whole band. They found Grom sitting by the fire with the others. When Marcus explained what he wanted, there was a long silence. Finally, Thraka spoke. This is madness, she said. He is human. He will slow us down, make us weak. He risked his life for us, Mara countered. That shows strength, not weakness. He loves my cousin, Rock added. That should count for something. Drac looked at his brother. What do you think, brother? Grom stared into the fire for a long time. Finally, he looked up at Marcus. You know what you ask. To join Orc band is to leave human world behind. Humans will see you as traitor, as Orc lover. You will be hunted, hated, and Orc life is hard. You will work every day, walk many miles, sleep in cold, eat rough food. No soft beds, no warm houses. You accept this. I accept it, Marcus said, and if you change your mind later, if you decide you want soft bed and warm house, then I will build them, Marcus said, and Kesh will live in them with me. I will not change my mind about loving her. Grom nodded slowly. You are brave, Marcus Brennan. Foolish but brave. I see why my daughter cares for you. Marcus blinked. Daughter, Kesh groaned. I meant to tell you, she said. Grom is my father, I just never found the right moment. You are asking my permission to join my band and court my daughter, Grom said, and there might have been amusement in his voice. That takes courage. I promise I will honor her, Marcus said. I will protect her with my life. Work hard for the band and learn your ways. I will prove myself worthy. You already proved yourself, Grom said. When you stood between us and the hunters, that was enough. He stood and walked over to Marcus, placing both hands on his shoulders. You are welcome in this band, Marcus Brennan. You are orc now in all ways that matter. The other orcs stood as well, each coming forward to grip Marcus's arm in the traditional orcish greeting. Even Thraka, though she looked like she was swallowing something bitter. This is still foolish, she said. But you have honor. That counts for something. That night, Marcus and Kesh sat together by the fire, her head resting on his shoulder. Are you certain about this? She asked quietly. Once you take this step, there is no going back. I am certain, Marcus said. I have never been more certain of anything. What about your sister? Your life as a trader? I will write to my sister and explain everything. She will understand eventually. And as for trading, I can still do that. Your band trades with human settlements. I can help with that. Use my contacts and reputation to get better prices. I can be useful. You are already useful, Kesh said, tilting her head to kiss his jaw. You make me happy. That is the most useful thing you could do. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the fire burn down to embers. My father will want to perform a bonding ceremony, Kesh said eventually. It is our equivalent of a human marriage. Are you ready for that? Whenever you are ready, Marcus said. Tomorrow, or a year from tomorrow, I will wait as long as you need. I do not want to wait, Kesh said. I have spent too much time already denying what I feel. When we reach the grasslands, we will have the ceremony. That gives you time to go to Ironford and return. Then that is what we will do, Marcus agreed. The journey to Ironford took 5 more days. When they reached the outskirts of the city, Marcus felt strange. He had been to Ironford hundreds of times over the years, but now it felt foreign, like he was looking at it through different eyes. We will make camp here, Grom said, pointing to a wooded area near a stream. You go to your city, do what you must do, we wait for you. I will return in 3 days, Marcus promised. No longer. Kesh walked with him to the edge of the woods. Are you sure you want to do this? She asked one more time. I am sure, Marcus said. He kissed her gently. 3 days, then we will never be apart again. He walked toward the city gates, feeling her eyes on him the whole way. The guards at the gate recognized him and waved him through with surprised greetings. Brennan, we thought you were dead. I very nearly was, Marcus said. But I survived. Is my sister still in the city? She is at the old house. She will be glad to see you. Marcus made his way through the familiar streets to the small house he had grown up in. His sister Eliza still lived there, having inherited it when their parents died. He knocked on the door and waited. Eliza opened the door and froze. Marcus, she whispered. Hello, Eliza, he said. She threw her arms around him, crying and laughing at the same time. You are alive. Oh gods, I thought you were dead. The bandits, they said everyone was killed. I escaped, Marcus said, hugging her back. I have so much to tell you. They sat in the kitchen and Marcus told her everything. About the ambush, the salt flats, being found by the orc band, traveling with them, falling in love with Kesh. Eliza listened without interrupting, her expression cycling through shock, disbelief, and finally acceptance. You are going back to them, she said when he finished. You are leaving for good. I am, Marcus confirmed. I love her, Eliza. I know it seems crazy, but she is everything to me, and her people saved my life, accepted me, made me one of them. Eliza was quiet for a long moment, then sighed. You always were the stubborn one, she said. When you make up your mind about something, nothing can change it. She reached across the table and took his hand. I just want you to be happy, Marcus. If this orc woman makes you happy, then I support you. Thank you, Marcus said, relief flooding through him. But you have to promise to visit sometimes, Eliza said. I do not care if people talk or say mean things. You are my brother and I want to see you. I promise, Marcus said, and I want you to meet Kesh. She is wonderful, Eliza. You would like her. Then bring her to dinner tomorrow, Eliza said. If you are going to join an orc band and marry an orc woman, the least you can do is introduce me to her properly. Marcus laughed, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. I will bring her tomorrow. Thank you for understanding. The next morning, Marcus went to see his banking agent and collected the money he had in savings. It was not much, but it would help the band purchase supplies. He also visited his merchant contacts and settled his outstanding debts and obligations. Word spread quickly that Marcus Brennan was alive, and by afternoon, people were stopping him in the street to ask questions. He told them the truth, that he had been saved by orcs, that they had treated him with kindness and honor. Some people seemed genuinely interested. Others looked at him with suspicion or disgust. By the time he returned to the camp that evening with Kesh, he knew his reputation had already been damaged. But he found he did not care. Let them think what they wanted. Eliza welcomed Kesh warmly, despite her obvious nervousness. They had an awkward but pleasant dinner, with Eliza asking careful questions about orcish customs and Kesh doing her best to explain. By the end of the evening, the two women were laughing together over a shared joke, and Marcus knew everything would be all right. On the third day, Marcus said goodbye to his sister. I will visit when I can, he promised, and you are always welcome at our camp. I will come, Eliza said. In the spring, maybe. I want to see how you are doing. She hugged him tightly. Be happy, Marcus, and take care of her. She is special. I know, Marcus said. I will. He returned to the camp where the orc band was waiting. They broke camp immediately and began the journey back to the grasslands, moving at a swift pace. Marcus walked beside Kesh, holding her hand, feeling like he was finally going home. They reached the grasslands a week later. The land was beautiful, rolling hills covered in tall grass that waved in the wind like ocean waves. Buffalo grazed in massive herds, and birds filled the sky. Grom called a halt near a stream and announced they would stay for several weeks to hunt and prepare for winter. That evening he approached Marcus and Kesh. Tomorrow, he said, we perform bonding ceremony. You are ready? Marcus looked at Kesh, who smiled and nodded. We are ready, he said. The ceremony was held at sunset the following day. The entire band gathered in a circle, with Marcus and Kesh standing in the center. Grom acted as the officiant, speaking in Orcish with Mara translating for Marcus. We gather to witness the bonding of two souls, Grom said. Marcus Brennan, human who has proven himself worthy of our clan. And Kesh, my daughter, who has found love in unexpected places. He produced a long strip of leather, ornately decorated with beads and carved bone. This cord represents the bond between you. It will tie you together, symbolizing that you are now one unit, one family. Grom wrapped the leather cord around their joined hands, binding them together loosely. Marcus, do you swear to honor Kesh, to protect her, to stand beside her in all things? I do, Marcus said firmly. Kesh, do you swear to honor Marcus, to protect him, to stand beside him in all things? I do, Kesh said, her voice clear and strong. Then by the power of clan and tradition I declare you bonded, Grom said. You are husband and wife, partners in life, one family from this moment forward. The other orcs began to chant in Orcish, a deep rhythmic sound that made Marcus's chest vibrate. Grom untied the cord and handed it to them. Keep this always, he said. It represents your bond and it will remind you of this day. Marcus and Kesh kissed as the chanting continued, and Marcus felt joy surge through him. This was right. This was where he belonged. The celebration continued late into the night with food and drink and stories told around the fire. The orcs welcomed Marcus fully into the clan, teaching him drinking songs in Orcish and laughing when he butchered the pronunciation. Finally, late in the evening, Marcus and Kesh retreated to their tent, the one they would now share. It was small but comfortable, with furs and blankets piled on the ground and their few possessions stored neatly along the sides. "So this is our home," Marcus said, looking around. "This is our home," Kesh agreed. "Wherever we travel, this tent will be our home. Are you disappointed?" "Not even a little," Marcus said, pulling her close. "Home is not a place, home is you." "That is very romantic for a trader," Kesh teased. "I contain multitudes," Marcus said solemnly, then grinned. They made love slowly and gently, learning each other's bodies, sharing whispered words and soft laughter. Afterward, they lay tangled together under the firs, listening to the sounds of the camp settling down for the night. "I was so afraid I would lose you," Kesh murmured. "When you stood between us and the hunters, I thought my heart would stop." "I was afraid too," Marcus admitted, "but I could not let them hurt you. I would rather die than live without you." "Do not say such things," Kesh said, touching his face. "You will live a long life and we will have many years together." "Many years," Marcus agreed. "Growing old together, traveling the grasslands, watching sunsets like tonight. And perhaps children," Kesh said softly. "Someday, if we are blessed." Marcus thought about that. Children who would be both human and orc, belonging to both worlds and neither. It would not be easy for them, but they would be loved, and they would grow up knowing that love could bridge any divide. "I would like that," he said. "Very much." They fell asleep in each other's arms, warm and safe and happy. The weeks that followed established a new rhythm for Marcus's life. He learned to hunt with the orcs, his skills with a bow improving under Rock's patient instruction. He helped Kesh with the trading, traveling to nearby human settlements to barter meat and furs for supplies. He learned Orcish, slowly and with much stumbling, until he could follow basic conversations. The band accepted him fully. Even Thraka, who had been so suspicious at first, began to treat him with respect. She taught him how to prepare and preserve meat, an essential skill for nomadic life, and occasionally even smiled at his jokes. Marcus wrote letters to Eliza regularly, sending them whenever they passed near a settlement with a postal service. She wrote back with news from Ironford, and always ended with the same line: "I am proud of you, brother." As autumn turned to winter, the band traveled south to warmer lands. They joined with other orc bands for the cold months, gathering in a large encampment near a sheltered valley. Marcus met dozens of other orcs, some friendly and some suspicious, but all curious about the human who had joined Kesh's band. One evening, as Marcus sat by the fire with a group of young orcs, one of them asked him the question he had heard many times before. "Why did you give up your human life for us? You had home, family, business. Why leave all that?" Marcus thought about his answer carefully. "Because love is more important than comfort," he said. "Because Kesh makes me happier than any house or any amount of gold ever could. Because your people showed me that honor and kindness are not limited to one race or one culture. I left behind a comfortable life, but I gained a real life. A life full of purpose and love and belonging. That is worth any sacrifice." The young orcs nodded, seeming satisfied with his answer. Later, Kesh told him that his words had spread through the camp, and that some of the more prejudiced orcs had softened their attitudes toward humans. "You are becoming a bridge," she said, "between our peoples. That is important work." "I just want to live my life with you," Marcus said. "If that happens to help others understand each other better, that is good, but you are my priority, always." "And you are mine," Kesh said, kissing him. Winter passed peacefully. Marcus and Kesh grew closer, learning each other's rhythms and quirks, building a partnership that felt unshakable. They argued sometimes, usually about small things like how to pack the wagon or whether to trade in a particular settlement, but they always made up quickly. Spring came with its usual burst of life and color. The orc bands separated, each going their own way to follow the migration of game animals and the ripening of wild plants. Grom's band traveled north again, back to the grasslands where the buffalo would be calving. One warm afternoon in late spring, Marcus and Kesh were walking together near the camp, enjoying the sunshine. Kesh had been quieter than usual all day, and Marcus finally asked what was on her mind. "I have news," she said, stopping to face him. "I wanted to be certain before I told you." "What kind of news?" Kesh took his hands and placed them on her belly. "I am carrying our child," she said softly. "I am about 2 months along." Marcus stared at her, his mind going blank with shock and joy. "A child," he whispered. "Yes," Kesh said, smiling tremulously. "Are you happy?" "Happy?" Marcus laughed and swept her up in his arms, spinning her around. "I am beyond happy. I am ecstatic. We are going to be parents." Kesh laughed too, holding on to him. "Careful, you will make me dizzy." He set her down gently and kissed her, pouring all his love and joy into the kiss. "I love you so much," he said when they broke apart, "and I will love our child just as much." "I know," Kesh said. "That is why I am not afraid. Whatever challenges come, we will face them together." That evening they announced the news to the band. Grom looked stern for a moment, then broke into a huge smile and pulled them both into a crushing hug. "I will be grandfather," he boomed. "This is great honor." The other orcs celebrated with them, and even Thraka seemed genuinely pleased. "A child of 2 worlds," she said thoughtfully. "This will be interesting." As the months passed and Kesh's belly grew, Marcus found himself thinking about the future more than ever. What kind of world would their child grow up in? Would they be accepted by humans? By orcs? Would they face prejudice and hatred? Or would they be seen as a symbol of what was possible when different peoples came together? He did not have answers to those questions, but he knew one thing with certainty. Their child would be loved. Fiercely, completely, unconditionally loved. And with that love as a foundation, they could face anything. Summer brought heat and plenty. The band hunted buffalo and gathered wild berries and edible plants. Kesh moved more slowly as her pregnancy advanced, but she remained active, insisting on doing her share of the work. "I am pregnant, not broken," she said when Marcus tried to make her rest. "Orc women work until the baby comes. It is our way." Marcus learned not to argue, but he stayed close, ready to help if she needed it. In early autumn, as the leaves were beginning to turn, Kesh went into labor. The women of the band took charge, setting up a special birthing tent and sending the men away. Marcus paced outside, his anxiety growing with each hour. Finally, after what felt like an eternity but was probably only 6 or 7 hours, Mara emerged from the tent with a smile. "You have a son," she said. "Both he and Kesh are well. You can come in now." Marcus rushed into the tent and found Kesh sitting up, exhausted but radiant, holding a tiny bundle wrapped in soft cloth. She looked up at him with tears in her eyes. "Come meet your son," she said. Marcus knelt beside her and looked down at the baby. He was tiny, with green-tinged skin lighter than Kesh's but darker than his own. He had a fine dusting of black hair, and when he yawned, Marcus could see tiny buds where tusks would eventually grow. His ears were slightly pointed, though not as pronounced as Kesh's. "He is perfect," Marcus whispered. "He is ours," Kesh said. "What should we name him?" They had discussed names for months but had never quite decided. Now, looking at his son, Marcus knew. "Garen," he said. "It means guardian in the old tongue. He will be a guardian of peace between our peoples." "Garen," Kesh repeated, testing the name. "I like it. Garen Brennan." "Actually," Marcus said, I was thinking Garen, Brennan, Kesh. He should have both our names to honor both his heritages. Kesh smiled. That is perfect. Garen grew quickly, as half-orc children do. By his first birthday, he was already walking and babbling in both Orcish and the human tongue. He had his mother's amber eyes and his father's curiosity about everything. The band doted on him. Grom carved him toys and told him stories. Thraka, who had softened considerably in her old age, taught him songs in Orcish. Rock let him ride on his shoulders during the long walks between camps. Garen was loved by everyone, a source of joy and hope for the entire band. Marcus's sister Eliza visited when Garen was about 6 months old. She fell in love with her nephew immediately, despite his unusual appearance. "He is beautiful," she said, holding him while he grabbed at her hair. "He has your nose, Marcus." "And Kesh's eyes," Marcus said proudly. "He is lucky," Eliza said. "He has 2 families who love him, 2 cultures to draw from. That is a gift." As Garen grew into a toddler, Marcus and Kesh began to think about his future. They wanted him to know both worlds, to be comfortable with humans and orcs alike. "We should spend more time near human settlements," Marcus suggested one evening. "I want him to know humans, not fear them." "Agreed," Kesh said, "but carefully. Not all humans will be kind to him." They began making longer stops near friendly settlements, letting Garen play with human children when possible. Some interactions went well, others less so. Once, a human child called Garen a monster and threw a rock at him. Marcus had to be physically restrained by Kesh from confronting the child's parents. "This is what he will face," Kesh said that night, holding their crying son. "Hatred and fear from both sides sometimes. Then we will teach him to be strong," Marcus said, "to be proud of who he is. To know that he is not less for being different but more. He is the future, Kesh, a bridge between worlds." "That is a heavy burden for a child," Kesh said. "We will help him carry it," Marcus promised. The years passed in a blur of travel and seasons. Garen grew into a bright, energetic boy who loved stories and learning. He learned to hunt with his grandfather Grom, to trade with his mother Kesh, and to read and write with his father Marcus. When Garen was 5, Kesh became pregnant again. This time, she gave birth to a daughter they named Cora. She had more human features than her brother, with lighter skin and smaller tusks, but the same amber eyes that marked her as Kesh's daughter. Marcus could hardly believe his life sometimes. He had a wife he loved deeply, 2 beautiful children, and a place in a community that valued him. He had gone from a dying man on the salt flats to a husband, father, and member of an orc clan. It was more than he had ever dreamed possible. One evening, when Garen was 7 and Cora was 2, the family sat together outside their tent watching the sunset. Garen was telling his sister a story about a brave warrior, complete with dramatic gestures that made Cora giggle. "You are happy?" Kesh asked Marcus quietly. "I have never been happier," Marcus said honestly. "Every day with you and the children is a gift. Even though you gave up your old life, your comfort and status." "Especially because I gave up that life," Marcus said. "That life was empty compared to this. I had wealth and respect, but I did not have love. I did not have purpose. Now I have both." Kesh leaned against him, and they sat in comfortable silence, watching their children play. The sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, and in the distance, they could hear the other members of the band going about their evening routines. "I was thinking," Kesh said after a while. "Garen is old enough now to start learning formal trading. I want to take him to Ironford next month, let him meet more humans, see how a real city works." "That is a good idea," Marcus agreed, "and we can visit Eliza. She has been asking to see the children." "There is something else," Kesh said. "I have been talking with the other bands." There is interest in creating a permanent trading post, a place where humans and orcs can meet and trade safely. They want us to help establish it. Marcus looked at her in surprise. A permanent post, that would be dangerous, Kesh finished. Yes, but also important. A place where our peoples can interact peacefully, learn about each other. It could help break down the hatred and fear. Where would this post be? Marcus asked. Near the grasslands, but close enough to human settlements that both sides can reach it easily. We would still travel most of the year, but have a base to return to. Marcus thought about it. A permanent trading post could be revolutionary. A place where humans and orcs met as equals, where children like Garen and Cora could grow up seeing both races working together. I think it is a wonderful idea, he said, and we should absolutely be part of making it happen. Kesh smiled. I hoped you would say that. The next few years were busy with planning and building. 3 orc bands and several human merchants came together to create the trading post. It was located in a meadow near a river, with good access to both the grasslands and the human settlements to the east. The post consisted of several large buildings for storing goods, a common area for trading and meetings, and small cabins for those who chose to stay year-round. Marcus and Kesh spent springs and summers there, then traveled with the band in autumn and winter. Slowly, the trading post became successful. More humans came to trade, drawn by the fair prices and quality goods. More orcs came too, realizing they could trade safely without fear of attack. Prejudices began to break down, bit by bit, as people of both races worked together. Garen and Cora grew up spending half their time with the Nomadic band and half at the trading post. They had friends among both humans and orcs and seemed comfortable in both worlds. Garen showed a talent for languages and diplomacy, often helping to translate and mediate disputes. Cora had her mother's head for numbers and her father's love of stories. When Garen was 15, he came to Marcus and Kesh with an announcement. I want to travel east, he said. I want to visit the human cities, learn more about that side of my heritage. Marcus and Kesh exchanged glances. They had known this day would come, but that did not make it easier. That could be dangerous, Kesh said carefully. Not all humans will accept you. I know, Garen said. But I cannot spend my whole life here, safe and sheltered. I need to see the world, meet people, learn. I need to find my own path. He is right, Marcus said quietly. We cannot protect him forever. He needs to make his own way. They let him go that spring, with supplies and letters of introduction to merchants Marcus had known. Garen was gone for nearly a year, and every day Marcus and Kesh worried about him. But when he returned, he was full of stories and experiences, more confident and mature. I met people who hated me for being part orc, he told them. But I also met people who were curious, who wanted to learn. I made friends. I taught them about orc culture and they taught me about human history and art. I think I want to do more of that, be a bridge like you said. Marcus looked at his son with pride. You already are a bridge, he said, and you are doing more good than you know. As the years continued to pass, Marcus watched the world slowly change. The trading post prospered and expanded, becoming a small town where humans and orcs lived and worked together. Other mixed couples formed, inspired by Marcus and Kesh's example. More half-orc children were born, each one a symbol of hope and possibility. There was still prejudice, still hatred, still violence sometimes. Change was slow and painful, but it was happening. When Marcus was in his 50s and Kesh in her 40s, they decided to step back from daily management of the trading post. They trained younger people to take over, both human and orc, and returned to traveling with Grom's band full-time. Grom was old now, his hair gone white and his movements slower. but he was still sharp-minded and deeply respected. He spent much of his time with his great-grandchildren, Garen's 2 children and Cora's infant son, teaching them the old songs and stories. One evening, as they sat around the fire, Grom turned to Marcus. "You know," he said in nearly perfect human speech after decades of practice, "when we found you dying on those salt flats, I almost left you there." Marcus looked at him in surprise. "You did?" "Yes," Grom said. "Thraka argued that humans bring only trouble, and she was not wrong. You did bring trouble, but you also brought change. Good change. You showed my daughter love, gave me grandchildren, helped build a place where our peoples can meet in peace. I am glad I did not listen to Thraka." "So am I," Marcus said with feeling. Grom chuckled. "Do you remember that day? How you looked half dead, dried out like old leather?" "I remember thinking I was going to die," Marcus said. "I remember accepting it, and then I remember hearing voices, feeling water on my lips. I thought I was hallucinating." "You were almost gone," Grom said. "Another hour, maybe 2, and you would have been dead. Fate brought us to you that day." "Or you brought fate to me," Marcus said. "Either way, I am grateful." They sat in companionable silence for a while, watching the fire. Around them, the camp was settling down for the night. Children's laughter drifted from one of the tents. Someone was singing softly in Orcish, a lullaby. "I am old," Grom said suddenly. "I do not have many years left, but I am content. I have seen things I never thought possible. Humans and orcs living together, working together, loving each other. My grandchildren and great-grandchildren are part of both worlds. That is a good legacy." "It is an excellent legacy," Marcus agreed. "When I am gone," Grom continued, "the band will need a new leader. I think Garen should lead. He has the wisdom, the respect, the skills." "He would be honored," Marcus said, "but that should be his choice, not ours." "Speak to him," Grom said. "Tell him his grandfather believes in him." Marcus promised he would. Grom died peacefully in his sleep 2 months later, surrounded by family. The band mourned him deeply, holding a 3-day funeral ceremony that honored his life and accomplishments. Garen accepted the position of chief, becoming the first half-orc to lead a band. The years continued to roll forward. Marcus's hair turned gray, then white. His joints ached on cold mornings, and he could no longer keep up with the younger hunters. But he was happy, surrounded by family and friends, living a life full of purpose and love. Kesh aged too, though orcs aged more slowly than humans. Her black hair developed streaks of silver, and fine lines appeared around her eyes and mouth. But to Marcus, she was as beautiful as the day he met her. One autumn evening, when they were both sitting outside their tent watching the sunset, Marcus turned to her and said, "You know, I have been thinking about that day on the salt flats. The day you found me." "What about it?" Kesh asked. "I thought I was dying," Marcus said. "I had accepted death, made peace with it. And then you appeared, like a vision from a dream. You saved my life, but you did more than that. You gave me a reason to live. You gave me love, family, purpose. Everything good in my life came from that moment when you chose to save a dying stranger." Kesh took his hand, her fingers intertwining with his. "I did not know then that you would change everything," she said softly. "I just saw a man who needed help, but I am glad we saved you. I am glad you came into my life. Every day with you has been a gift, even the hard days." Marcus teased gently. "Especially the hard days," Kesh said, "because we faced them together." They sat in silence as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Around them, the camp was alive with the sounds of family and friends. Children playing, adults talking and laughing, the crackling of the evening fire. "You have any regrets?" Marcus asked. "About choosing me, about the life we built together?" Kesh turned to look at him, her amber eyes serious. "Not one single regret," she said firmly. "You are my heart, Marcus Brennan. You have been since the day I first heard you say thank you when you looked at me like I was a person instead of a monster. I would choose you again, every time in every life." "I would choose you too," Marcus said, pulling her close. "Forever and always." As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Marcus felt a profound sense of peace. He had started as a trader seeking profit and adventure and become something far more important. A husband, a father, a grandfather, a bridge builder. He had helped change the world, even if just a little bit. And it had all started with a simple act of kindness on the Salt Flats, when a nomadic orc band found a dying stranger and chose to save him. That choice had rippled outward in ways no one could have predicted, touching countless lives, building understanding between two peoples who had been enemies for generations. Marcus held Kesh close and looked up at the stars, thinking about the future. His children and grandchildren would carry on the work, continuing to build bridges, break down barriers, and prove that love and understanding were stronger than hatred and fear. It was more than he could have ever dreamed of when he was dying alone on the Salt Flats. And it was all because one orc woman had looked at a dying human and seen not an enemy, not a monster, not even a stranger, but simply a person who needed help. That compassion had changed everything. That compassion had saved him. And in saving him, it had helped save two peoples from an endless cycle of hatred and war. Marcus kissed the top of Kesh's head and smiled. The future was bright, full of possibilities, and whatever challenges came, they would face them together as they always had. Together, until the end of their days.